I think that if we knew a bit more about what's happening behind these topics, we'd make different choices, or at least we'd have things to say rather than stay silent.
Hello, and welcome to Environment Variables, brought to you by the Green Software Foundation. In each episode, we discuss the latest news and events surrounding green software. On our show, you can expect candid conversations with top experts in their field who have a passion for how to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions of software. I'm your host, Chris Adams.
Hello, and welcome to The Week in Green Software, the show where we unpack the biggest stories and trends shaping the intersection of technology and sustainability. I'm your podcast producer and host for this week, Chris Skipper. Today, I'm joined by a brilliant guest, Valeria Salis, software engineer, sustainability advocate, and co-founder of Green Software Italia, which we will talk about is not related to the Green Software Foundation, but is a community in its own right. Valeria has been leading conversations in Italy and across Europe about responsible tech, community-driven climate action, and the importance of putting sustainability at the heart of modern software development. In this episode, we're diving into some of the most fascinating developments in sustainable infrastructure, from underwater wind-powered data centers in China to Europe's growing concerns around water-intensive AI infrastructure, to how major cloud providers like Microsoft are re-engineering data centers to support renewable grids and heat local communities. We'll explore not only what's happening at a technological level, but also the cultural and community work needed to make sustainable software mainstream, something Valeria has been deeply involved with through her work with Green Software Italia. Valeria, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you here.
Yeah, hi everyone, and hi Chris, and thank you for having me. It's really great. Actually, not to mention other podcasts, but Environment Variables is one of my favorite podcasts. So I'm actually fangirling inside. Yeah, it's great to be here. Yeah, I made it. I can say to my mom, yeah, Mom, I made it to my favorite podcast. Hi everyone. And as Chris mentioned, I have a background as a software engineer, but now I'm working more as a consultant for tech sustainability. So I'm trying to basically building bridges between technology and sustainability. And I'm working as a freelance. I also do so many public speaking things. You can find me on so many conferences. If there's a conference in Italy, I often am there. So you can find me. I also one of the co-founders of Green Software Italia, but we will talk about that more in depth later. Other things, I do many sustainability related things. I have a YouTube channel, but we'll talk about that during the episode. I think. Not absolutely. To give so many spoilers.
Yeah, we'll definitely get, I'll ask for you for a link for your YouTube channel as well at the end there.
Yeah.
Great. So thank you, Valeria. Thank you for doing this for us. I'm really excited to talk to you. So let's talk about Green Software Italia. Obviously, the name is a bit confusing because we have the Green Software Foundation, but we've spoken about this just prior to coming on to the recording. It's a different organization. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But why is it important to have a local Italia-based Green Software Foundation, not in the same way, but a Green Software organization? And what's the key difference between what you guys do and what other organizations do? And what makes you guys uniquely Italian or unique for Italy? Okay.
Our community actually started officially a year ago. So we are a very new community. Me and the other co-founders, we actually met because we organized last year 2 meetups for the Cloud Native Sustainability Week, because me and one of the other co-founders is part of the CNCF, and we were part of the TAG Environmental Sustainability. We organized 2 meetups, one in person and one online. In December, we made some kind of a retrospective, and we tried to understand a bit more how we could actually continue this project. And we were crazy enough to say, let's go found a community because we want to talk about sustainability not just once a year, but we want to talk about sustainability a bit more during the year. And yeah, we decided for the name Green Software Italia because it was one of the most straightforward names. But yeah, sometimes it's confusing. We are not under the Green Software Foundation. We're not under any other community because all of the co-founders are part of so many different communities. One of the things that I think makes Green Software Italia different than any other community is that even though our name is has green software in the name, we are not just focused on sustainability. We are also focused on inclusion and accessibility. So we try to spread awareness and talk about topics that can make the technology world a bit better than it is now. Also, this is all of the things that I will say are mainly as a person that lives in Italy. And so it's mainly my perspective. But I also, during these 3.5 years, had the opportunity to share experiences with other people that live in different parts of the world. So I had the opportunity to bring some external experiences also in our community. And so I think that I did that, but also many other people in the community, others co-founders did that. And I think that this makes Green Software Italia a very special community, not just because I co-founded it, but because, yeah, I think that we have so many different skills. I'm more on the environmental sustainability part, but we have people that are more and more skilled about inclusion and accessibility with their different experiences. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, it's something that we don't really talk about is accessibility, or perhaps we don't talk about it enough in sustainability circles, and especially perhaps when we're so focused on, trying to decarbonize software and something that perhaps we kind of we forget about, right? So in what ways do you kind of bring accessibility as like a focus for the organization? Are there events or, is there a way that you kind of aim to recruit those types of people? What kind of things do you put in place for that?
This year we organized 3.5 meetups. I say a half because one we co-organized with another community. And so with meetups, we try to have speakers that have different experiences, and we try to have a schedule that is not actually so much focused on the environment, but also to our other topics. So basically, I think that the main thing that we do is spreading awareness on the topics, not just saying that we care about that, but talking to people that actually are doing that in their daily basis as a work, or maybe as one of the things that they are passionate about. One of the other things is that me at first, but all of the other co-founders, we try to talk about the community more and more. So spreading the word that this community exists. For example, I brought the community name not just in tech conferences, but also in other occasions. For example, I was part of the speakers for an event that was mainly focused on people that do communication things, and there were other people that had YouTube channels and do a lot of stuff on social media. And for example, in that situation, the attendees were not people that were working, but they were teenagers and they were families. And so also for people that are not in the work environment, but maybe people that are also studying and families, is very important to see that there are these type of communities that actually are more focused on their values and their missions rather than, how we do this. We will try, we will find a way in the end, but we are very, very focused on our values and what we are trying to do in this messy world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something that it's something that we don't really think about is, because mainly in this podcast, we're aiming towards developers and people that work in the software industry. But we never forget about the people who are the everyday users of computers and AI, and the effect that, that they actually have on the whole environment as well. And also just their thought processes as well, bringing them into the conversation and saying like, hey, like when you actually use ChatGPT, you're using this much of power and that type of thing, right? The other thing that you mentioned as well, which brought a topic to mind, was the idea of a lot of companies nowadays are looking towards AI transformation. I mean, I know this is not a business podcast at all, but, these types of people are the people that we need to reach through these organizations, the consultants of like the KPMGs and the Accentures of the world that want to go into these companies, these huge, where they have like, tens of thousands of employees that are all working with computers, and then they want to use AI in their day-to-day business operations, right? And they don't think about the environmental consequences at all, right?
Yeah, no.
So it's kind of scary.
Yes, definitely.
But I wanted to ask you more about your work as well with the CNCF. So the CNCF is, for our listeners, is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation.
Yes.
And the TAG Environmental Sustainability is TAGS is the Technical Advisory Group. Environmental sustainability. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Just so the listeners know, we actually have had one member of the same tag here before. This was back in episode 60, so that's like quite a while back. Yeah, it was 2020. No, sorry, I lied. That's too old. 2022. Christina Devochko, her name was, and so that was. Don't know if you know her, but yeah, could you tell us more about the tag and CNCF and what you guys do in your group?
Yeah, I know her. Yeah, when I joined the TAG Environmental Sustainability 3 years ago, and many things have changed. Christina actually was one of the people that I recognize as my mentor. So if she is listening to this podcast, Christina, love you. When I joined the community, I was pretty shy. I was starting my public speaking experience. So I was like, I don't want to say anything. Yeah, people are more skilled than me. I just let that do to other people. The TAG Environmental Sustainability was the very first community that I joined related to sustainability. And I was saying that to you prior they started the recording, but some things have changed for the community. Basically the tags now have changed. They changed the structure of the tags. So there's no more a tag related to environmental sustainability, but so many people that were contributing to the TAG Environmental Sustainability are now part of the TAG Operational Resilience, if I'm saying the name correct. Basically, the sustainability concept seems to have disappeared, actually. But there are a couple of projects that are still going on. So if people were familiar on the TAG Environmental Sustainability, right now, even though the name is disappeared, actually some initiatives are actually still part of the tag under the CNCF. And one that I mentioned before was the Cloud Native Sustainability Week. This year, even though it wasn't very out loud, we actually tried to start the Cloud Native Sustainability Month, because last year we had so many meetups that were organized around the world, and so many communities, so many local communities actually started from that event, and this for us was very, very important. And so we tried this year, even though all of the changes that happened, we tried to also organize the event. A couple of communities joined the event, and so maybe next year we will try to push it even more. But yeah, we knew that this year, because of all the changes, the event wasn't going to be that big from the 2024. So yeah, the tag environmental sustainability is not now has not that name anymore. But there are a couple of people that are still working in the tag environmental sustainability in one of the working groups for the tag operational resilience. I always forget their name. But yeah, if anyone that listens to this podcast and was familiar for the tag and is actually still interested in sustainability topics in the more technical way, there are initiatives that are still going on. So join the Slack and you can find so many other people that will help you. And if anyone is interested in the Cloud Native Sustainability Month, you can also reach out to me or anyone in the Tag Operational Resilience, because we were trying to push this event a bit more because it was very, very important. And also because my community actually started because of that event. So for me, it has some kind of a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, like a sentimental event for you. That's really
yes.
good. And just so people know, what is the month like? Are you choosing a calendar month of the year, or is it just like 4 weeks?
We saw that for the week it was between the first and the second week of October. But last year we saw that people were actually organizing event also in November. And so because we were very late to publish the blog post and say, yeah, the event is still happening, we decided for November this year. Okay. So yeah, it's actually still going on. But next year we will try to like make it a bit more structured, and it could be between October and November, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, at the time that this episode will go out, I think it will be the first week of December. So unfortunately, you won't be able to catch the end of the month. But look out for it for next year. We'll put a link down to the one for this year, and also the CNCF work that the CNCF does. Obviously, the CNCF and the GSF are quite closely linked as well. So yeah, so great. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our news section of the podcast. I'm going to talk about an article that we have linked below in the show notes. So if you want to read along, you can. I'm not going to read it out, but you can have a read of it in your own time. And this one is an article titled China's Wind-Powered Underwater Data Center, which is an article from last month, from October, which is about a underwater data center where High Cloud Technology has launched its first commercial wind-powered underwater data center located off the coast of Shanghai. And it uses seawater cooling and offshore wind power to reduce energy and land use. The first phase is 2.3 megawatts with plans to scale to 24 megawatts and eventually 500 megawatts. So this actually reminds me of another previous episode of Environment Variables, where we talked about underwater data centers off the coast of the Orkney Islands, which is just off the north of Scotland. And you have to go all the way back to episode 15. So we went back to episode 60 previously. Now we're going all the way back to episode 15 of EVs to listen to this. So I'll link that below if you want to listen to it. It's a really great episode. And just the concept of underwater data centers blew my mind. Valeria, what do you think about it? And, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree with the blowing minds. It's we are hearing more and more about news like this. And I think that, for me, there are two parts. There are two different lenses that we can see this type of news. The first one is, will this be a really innovative way to cover the continued growing demand of electricity? And the second one is basically the opposite, but are we really messing up our oceans and all the ecosystems to cover the uncontrollable continued growing demand of electricity? So every time I hear this type of news, for me, the first things that comes to my mind is this is very scary, because we hear every day about right now the buzzword that is everywhere is AI, of course, but we can aside from AI, we see that technology and everything that is this very high energy consuming is basically something that we see on a daily basis. We tend to consume a lot, and we sometimes do not even. We are not even. How can I say it? We are not. We cannot see that, and this type of news, for me, is very, very scary because it seems that we are trying to cover some things that we are doing in this uncontrollable way, but are we considering the negative impacts that these type of initiatives right now will have in the future? And so are we actually doing something in a really sustainable way, but sustainable in the in the meaning of the word? So is this solution going to be sustainable for the next 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years? Or are we going to say, oh, we've made a big mistake and we will have to solve that mistake and all the other things that come? So for me, there are these two different lenses that we can see this type of news. I read the news, and I usually cover this type of news also in my YouTube channel. And there are so many initiatives from big companies and also sometimes governments that try to cover the high energy demand from their countries. And so many initiatives are starting like this. Like one of the news that I saw and I covered in my YouTube channel was in Portugal. They are trying to build this data campus, this very big data campus, and I was like, yeah, this is interesting, but how is this happening? Like, how are we really doing this for ourselves? Or so I don't think that there is a single answer to this. So we cannot say, this is the solution, or no, we have to avoid this. But I'm an advocate for looking for all the consequences and all the prerequisites that some things have to that we have to cover in order to make informative decisions. And so I hope that companies are trying to do that as well. Like they are trying to be as informative as they can. And so.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing that you mentioned about, like, is this really the solution? And we're seeing it through the lens of, this is great. This is going to solve all our problems. Of course, I don't think it's going to solve all our problems. I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction, but is it like you said, is it going to be really sustainable? In 10, 15 years, are we going to be having to dig up these data centers that are, just huge waste factories in the bottom of the ocean kind of thing. The interesting thing is that this 2.3 megawatt data center is considered a medium-sized data center, but it's still a huge amount of carbon that's being, that has potential to pollute the ocean. And then it says it's wind powered as well, right? So it's renewable energy, but how much of that is actually going back into the grid and in China and that type of thing, right? So it's interesting to see that the Chinese government is backing these types of projects. I think that's one thing from a policy point of view, right, is interesting to note, because there aren't many governments around the world that are actually backing this type of project, right? Like where it's quite experimental. And the only other underwater data center that we know about, the one in the Orkney Islands, was Microsoft that did that, right? And that was just an experiment. And it was literally for about a year or so, and they pulled it back up out of the ocean, so it's no longer there. So those are the types of things, right? And that we won't know the full effect. I don't think like we're going to be completely filling all our putting all our data centers in the ocean. I mean, we also had another theory that we've covered on this podcast, which was data centers on the moon, which was another crazy, trying to land a data center and build one on the moon and all that kind of thing. It was a very, very sci-fi attitude. But yeah, I think we're a bit far away from that. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like the trailer for a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
like
exactly.
in the 1990s, it would be like some kind of movie that were out in the 1990s. There in 2030, we will use the moon to power data centers, and now we're basically living that. So
yeah, exactly.
It's interesting.
Yeah, when fiction actually becomes reality, right? It's quite scary. Anyway,
yes.
enough about that. Let's move on to another water-based topic of news, which is a topic here that is entitled "Thirsty AI Projects Raise Water Alarm in Europe." So this is our second story, which is focusing on water. As the AI infrastructure expands across Europe, and this is particularly interesting because, Valeria, you are based in Italy, particularly in drought-stricken regions like Spain and Greece, experts are sounding the alarm about AI-driven water stress. This article highlights how water scarcity is emerging as a critical factor in the ethics and sustainability of AI development. So, Valeria, you have a unique perspective about this, being someone who's based in Europe. Have you seen any evidence of this, and any evidence of this particularly in Italy? And what's your point of view as someone that might be directly affected by this?
Yeah, I don't know if I said before, but now I live in the north of Italy since 2015. But I was actually born and raised in the south of Italy, in Sardinia especially. And there are so many similarities between, for example, Spain and Sardinia. Actually, Spain and Italy in general, but Spain and Sardinia have actually some very similarities, like on the climate and so on. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about potable water, one of the things that I always remember is that when I was young, during the summer, we used to have to save potable water because we knew that sometimes it could happen that, for example, you would open the tap
yes.
and water didn't come out at some time of the day. This still happens in some regions of Italy, especially in the summer, because in the last 5 to 10 years, we've seen it's raining so much less than it was 15 years ago, for example. And I can see it as well now. Here where I live now, we don't have that kind of problem. But like it's outside of the town where I live, there are many rivers, and I can see that water level is very, very low. I also read this article, this one about the thirsty AI water, the thirsty AI in general, and it is very connected to the things that we were saying before. But like my perspective is that we hear a lot about carbon emissions and energy consumed, and water usage is still one of the topics that is considered less relevant for some reasons, and so sometimes it's the missing point. Like you don't see any data related to water consumption. And this is, for me, this is an alarm because we have to think about water. We use water for so many different activities. And another thing that I saw in some other articles and some other papers is one very important fact is that we only have a limited quantity of water in our world. So this means that if we use water in an uncontrollably way for some things, some activities won't have water. And so the other activities will have big problems to continue to do those activities as well. And this also comes to the residential use. So not only the industrial use of water, but also it will come to us as consumers, as normal people. And so this is a very big problem that we have to considerate in order to make decisions that are sustainable. It's very similar to the things that we've said before.
Yeah.
The topic is always that.
Yeah. I think the thing I find interesting about this article and perhaps the perspective from outside of Europe, right, is that we always think of Europe as being, the first world and being developed and not having these types of problems, especially Western Europe, Spain and places like that, where we think, actually it's everything's okay there. The infrastructure works, everything's working, all this type of thing, right? Just for personal perspective, right? I was born in South Africa and lived most of my life in South Africa, where we have drought every summer. And, we learn how to save water. We have hosepipe bans. We have, no one can use bathtubs. We use buckets for water, this type of thing. It's very, very common in South Africa. But when we look to Europe, we don't expect this type of thing to happen. And I think it's already happening now. And like you said, if it was happening 15 years ago, the scary thing is that this article is predicting that Europe wants to triple its number of data centers in the next 10 to 30 years, which is, pretty crazy. So, and then one of the missing pieces that, like we said, we don't think about, right, is data centers use water to cool themselves, right? And it's not the water that, like, from the ocean, it's not salt water, it's fresh water, which is the scary thing, right? So
yes, definitely. Yeah. I talked to some other people about this topic, and they didn't believe that the water used in data centers were actually the same water that we can use for our activities on a daily basis. And so this changed a bit their perspectives, and this comes to the thing that it would be very, very needed to be more transparent about these topics. If we knew a bit more, maybe, I don't know if this would happen in real life, but for me, if I know a bit better about the things that happen behind some things, some activities, then my idea to use or not use them changes, actually. And so I think that these, in my perspective, this happens to everyone. So I think that if we knew a bit more about what's happening behind these topics, we'd make different choices, or at least we'd have maybe we'd have things to say rather than stay silent, for example.
Absolutely. And just going back to connect with your work with Green Software Italia, right? You'd have more people that would be interested in joining those types of groups and more advocates for green software as a whole, which is one of the missions of the Green Software Foundation, is that if we can find one person who's working in an organization, one developer, that has the passion for this type of thing, then, we're moving in the right direction. And that's kind of, that's always been the mission from the very beginning. From, that was Asim Hussain, who's the chairperson of GSF. It's been his mission from the very, very beginning of it. So the founder, at least. Yes. So fantastic. And also, just to mention, you are a green software champion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm one of the green software champions. I think that we are 7 or 8 in Italy.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy to be part of that small group. I feel some kind of responsibility, but it's in a positive way. I showed that to my mom, and I said, "Yeah, mom, this is because I do a couple of things related to sustainability." And she was like, "Okay, that's cool." And then, but she didn't understand a bit more about the things.
Yeah.
She was like, "Yeah, cool." Yeah. So.
But hopefully. Well, hopefully with being able to spread this type of news, when you next person that you tell you're a green software champion, they understand what you mean, right? So
yes,
but we're getting there. We're slowly but slowly building, and that's what we're trying to do. And also, if anybody that's listening is interested in becoming a GSF champion, which is like the next level up from actually just joining the GSF. So if you want to join the GSF, we do have some links below on how to join the GSF as just a normal, irregular, everyday person. We have launched also the Movement platform, which is really interesting, which is like our version of a social network where you can learn more about the Green Software Foundation. There's some really interesting resources on there. You can train using our, we have a few courses on there. I'm on there all the time, so you can come bug me if you want to come on the podcast, that type of thing. Send me a message. Anyway, let's move on to our last news topic. And so our last news topic is hopefully a little bit more optimistic than the previous one. So this last one is called Microsoft Data Center Sustainability Innovation in Europe. So this is actually an article which is talking about the innovation that Microsoft is trying to do in the next few years. So because it's growing its European data center footprint, it's trying to aim to remain sustainable. So it's outlined a bunch of points. So from 23 to 2027, so from 2 years ago until 2027, it's expanding its cloud capacity in Europe by 40%, which is quite a big number. And by the end of 2026, Microsoft will have operations in more than 200 data centers across Europe, which is probably one of the biggest data center providers in the whole of Europe, if not the biggest. I'm not entirely sure. Please don't check me on that. And one of the sites in Newport in Wales, it's reportedly used 74% recycled steel and saved roughly 4,400 tons of carbon. And there are a bunch of other stats. I won't read them all out on the podcast, but please have a read of it. It is very interesting. But Valeria, how does this read to you? And I think I know what you might say, but what do you think about the article?
So we've said so many negative things, so I would say some positive things.
Okay.
No, I don't think that we've said negative things. I think we've said critical things.
Yes.
We have a critical sense of these topics.
Yeah.
One of the things is that we've said before, we need more transparency, and with this, everyone agrees with this. We need more transparency, more data, because we then be able to understand a bit more how things are happening, and if we are actually going into the right direction. One of the things that for example, I try every time try to do is I usually start with data, like for example the ones that you've shared previously, and data helps us to understand and to make arguments and to discuss about some topics. This is the same things that, for example, we try to do in our meetups for the community. We try to have data as a starting point, or at least like official reports and similar things. One of the other things that I can see reading different news is that I'm seeing that big companies are actually starting to communicate with some big communities, like for example, also Microsoft with the GSF, and there are people that are working in their in some initiatives, and so having people that actually work for big companies do this type of stuff is very, very helpful. And this is actually what we also try to do in a smaller scale, but we also as a community try to reach out to people that, for example, work for the big tech part, the Italian part of big techs, in order to also make them understand that there's interest in this topic, and also making them know that people want to know things. So maybe we will never know all the things, 100% of the things, but I think that if we reach like 50 to 60%, we will be very, very happy as communities, and we will have the thought that we are doing some good things to make these companies know that we need that this topic is important for people, that we think about our future, and also on the other side, I think that communities and international communities, most importantly, have a very big part in this, like starting initiatives that, like for example, one of the things that came to my mind was also from the Green Software Foundation was the software carbon intensity applied to AI. This is a very interesting and very important initiative in this new technology, this new era in technology. And this is also means that communities want to make their part in this.
It's interesting that you mentioned the SCI, so the software carbon intensity specification, which is built a product of the GSF, and we also have the Carbon Aware SDK, amongst other things that have, they all rely on data, which is one of the things that we're talking about, right? And having clean and not in an environmental sense, but like easy to read data and like easily accessible data is so difficult to find because, like you mentioned, not a lot of companies are transparent. And so this article is kind of highlighting, I mean, yes, Microsoft is part of the Green Software Foundation for full transparency. There's mentioning the things that they do actually talk about. They're talking about using recycled steel they're talking about how the impact of their use of AI through their data centers is helping, for example, Spanish farmers water their crops and that type of thing, right? Which is fantastic, right? But they also then don't mention the actual environmental impact of expanding their cloud capacity by 40% as well, right? So the great thing about the GSF and the great thing about this, this whole organization and this group of people is that everyone that is involved is very open to being criticized and being finding what's going to work, because we're all in this together. The realization is that without the planet, we're not going to be able to talk about these sorts of things. So there we go.
Yes.
But yeah, I like your point about community and, the need for people to actually just talk more about it, really. Like, and that's what we're trying to do on the podcast. So anyway, so let's move on to some events. Just quickly, I'm going to run through some events for the week that's coming up when this podcast goes out. So firstly, on the 4th of December in Hamburg, we have AI and sustainability. There'll be a link below to that in the show notes. Also in Germany, in Munich, there is the Building Sustainable Software event. Dive into smarter designs, local models, or new energy strategies to keep AI's carbon cost in check. We also have an event happening in the UK at the Brighton, in Hove at least, Silicon Brighton Big Festive Meetup, which is happening on December the 9th. And then quite a big one for us, we're big friends of us at least, which is the Green IO team. Green IO Paris, which is happening from December 9th to 11th, which is a bunch of workshops. And I believe it's also happening online as well. So you can check the link below there. Anyway, well, Valeria, we've come to the end of our podcast episode. Thank you so much for coming on Environment Variables and living your dream, being on your dream podcast.
Yes.
Just I have one more question for you, which is, firstly, what's your YouTube link?
Okay. Yeah. My YouTube channel is called Green Tech Tales because I'd say that I tell stories. They are not actually stories, but like almost every week, I bring news, tools, or scientific papers, and I talk to people about it. I try to update people about what's happening in the tech world related to sustainability. Videos are in Italian, but they have the English subtitles that I write. So basically you have a win-win. Like you have a free Italian lesson, and then you have the content. That's how I try to sell my YouTube channel outside of Italy every time. Aside from my YouTube channel, I'm on LinkedIn, and everyone if it's interested in everything in some of the things that I said, or even in the community, you can write me at any time. And that's basically me. And I lived my dream today.
Well, I'm so glad we could help you. And I'm going to go check out Green Tech Tales on YouTube after this and improve my Italian. My Italian is very bad. Non è bene. There you go. So thank you, Valeria. Thanks for being on the podcast. A final reminder to everyone that's listening, all the resources for this episode are down in the show notes below. And you can visit podcast.greensoftware.foundation to listen to more episodes of Environment Variables. And we'll see you all in the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. Just a reminder to follow Environment Variables on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please do leave a rating and review if you like what we're doing. It helps other people discover the show. And of course, we'd love to have more listeners. To find out more about the Green Software Foundation, please visit greensoftware.foundation. That's greensoftware.foundation in any browser. Thanks again, and see you in the next episode.